Welcome to Business of Design. Business of Design is the world's best business training for interior design professionals like you. If you're ready to implement an exact business model for running a streamlined, profitable business, field tested by thousands of design professionals around the world, head to businessofdesign.com and get started today. It's time to dramatically improve your business and transform your life. Business of Design. There's only one.
Well, hello, you fabulous interior design professional. Welcome to Business of Design. I want to kick things off with a little pop quiz. I think you're going to like this. What's the difference between MAP, minimum advertised price, and MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price? Is MAP the floor or the ceiling? Well, you are about to find out the answer, and trust me, I think it's really going to change how you look at your margins, which is a good thing. In today's episode, we have a very special guest because Jen VanderMeer, after years of applying the business of design strategies in her own interior design practice, she's made the leap to the supplier side, and now she's on a mission to help all of us do a better job at profiting from procurement while excelling at what we do best. She's bringing us, if you like, an insider's perspective. First, as an interior design professional, which matters a lot to me, and now as a supplier partner, where she is sharing with her team how designers are kind of caught in the middle between clients and trades sometimes, and how we are frequently leaving money on the table. Trade pricing, my friends, should not mean trade-offs, and Jen knows how to make things work from both sides. She currently is with Aquavato, and they are partnering with her to create these concierge-level service experiences for the designers who use them. And they talk a lot about trust and expertise and relationships, because at the end of the day, none of us is selling faucets, right? We're offering solutions, we're building relationships, we're delivering exceptional value to our clients. So if you want to make some serious bank, and I hope you do, this is the episode for you. From the shift in pricing strategy due to e-tail and retail to the real value of vendor relationship, Jen's gonna help us navigate the changing landscape of the design industry. There are a lot of changes afoot. I know, I feel it for sure, and none of us wants to get into offering the goods that we suggest for clients at the lowest possible price, right? So grab a pen if you're sitting down, or tuck in your earbuds if you're at the gym, and we're going to have a really engaging conversation. I also want to do a little log rolling and promote Business of Design here for 1 second. Jen touches on money mindset, and I found that to be just such a huge stumbling block to becoming profitable in my own business. The fact of the matter is, each one of us has a money mindset, and you might not even be aware of how often it's sabotaging you. So in 2020, that was the year of COVID. 2024, a much better year. Business of Design turned 20 years old, and we launched our latest book, which is Run Your Business, because we need systems to run the business and we need systems to run the projects. Those are two different things, but Run Your Business begins with a conversation about money mindset, and I think it's really the fastest way to find out what yours is and how it's holding you back. So I'm going to promote that we have the book for sale, and we'd love to sell it to you. And even more exciting, more robust for those of you who feel like this is the year where you need to maybe recalculate how you're doing things, then beginning on October 16th for 6 weeks is Business of Design Financial Boot Camp. You're going to work with a fractional CFO, you're going to work with me, you're going to work with Team BOD. We have an intensive itinerary. There's going to be 6 2-hour meetings plus homework in between, plus peer review, and at the end of it, you can end up with a brand new group of professionals who you can think of as your own board of directors. So we're really looking forward to it. Please go to businessofdesign.com, check that out. We're really glad you're here. Jen, it feels like old home week.
Yes, it does. Yeah, good to see you.
It's been a minute. You have to catch me up on what's been happening in your life.
A lot. It's been an interesting year. I have been working at Aquavato, which is a plumbing showroom in I'll call it the original design district in Toronto, down near the distillery district. And it's been an education, that's for sure.
Well, you bring to it your experience working as an interior design professional. So, what I'm hoping that means is that you are in this amazing showroom and with this amazing brand or multiple brands, and you are saying, hey guys, the designers could use a little help. And it's okay if they make some money. So let's figure out how to help them do that. Is that a fair is that a good hope?
That's bang on. My career in plumbing actually started in the year 2002. I worked in a showroom in London, Ontario during the building boom, and it hasn't really stopped, but I was looking at about 2 to 3 cookie cutter homes and bathrooms and kitchens for about a decade, 2 to 3 per day over about a decade. So yes, I come by my experience at Aquavato naturally. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you know, because you've been a member of Business of Design in the past, and it sounds like you're still using Business of Design in your role at Aquavato. So I definitely want to ask about that, but I'm going to do something unusual because Jen, we go way back. Jen, your design intervention was so good and it made me so happy. And I think that's a kind of a good jumping off point. So you talked about the fact that years ago, someone gave you really great advice. It was a director of a hospitality, a 5-star resort.
Mhm.
And what was the advice?
The advice was clearly, and it rang out like a bell for me to remember it all these years later, was the service is a noble gesture. Yeah.
Yeah, service is a noble gesture. And too often, I think myself at least, I've approached it from this idea that I'm trying to convince people to spend money that they don't want to spend or talk them into doing a project that maybe they don't want to do. When in fact, all I really am is somebody who's there to give service to that person who has a project. And so what you sent in was service is a noble gesture and delight is the reward. The reward is that delighted client. And I think it's safe to say, like working with designers as long as you have and as long as I have, we all want to see our clients feel delighted, right? Like we're so wired to go for that as a goal.
We are, and I'm not sure how and why that is so prolific throughout our community, but coming back to wholesale plumbing, showroom, still in the service mindset. But service is a noble gesture really gave me the perspective of feeling like I'm leading, less about being servile or servitude, and more about in this capacity, in this mindset, I am the best person to pull you forward because our intentions in this industry are pure. Truly, we come to the profession very honestly. We want to do our best work, and we help each other. I've noticed that in this industry, um, there's more than enough work. That's the mentality. It's not about a lack mentality when it comes to wanting to help people, but there is a lack mentality in making money. And that's
Yes.
where I'm trying to that's where I'm trying to help. We don't gatekeep. Designers have started retreats together to help lift each other up, to share information. You've done that as well with your investment in the 15 steps and sharing that with us. And there's just so much wanting to serve out there. And it continues with what I do at Aquavato as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Kind of ties into my mantra, which you've heard before, which I learned from a guy named Blair Enns, which is I am the expert. I am the prize to be won. I am on a mission to help, but I can only help if I lead. I can only serve the client. I can only provide that service if I can lead. But the thing that gets left out of that is that it's wonderful that I can service my client and take care of their needs, but I must also take care of my own needs. And too often, that's the part that we forget about. So, what we really wanted to talk to you today about is procurement. How can, as interior designers, how can we use our most valuable suppliers and vendors better? How can we, unapologetically make money while using those suppliers and vendors? And where do you think we go wrong, having been on both sides of that conversation? Where do you think we should start the conversation? Your eyes got really wide. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see, but her eyes were like, boom. Yeah. All right. So where do you think we go wrong here, Jen?
Oh, I would love to say that it's about what's happening in the industry. I would love to say, to designers that maybe haven't done the 4-year degree, that's what it is. It's not. It truly is a mindset. And what spoke to me when doing the 15 steps was that you shared that mindset as well. And then when I read books about money, like You Are a Badass with Money, it really does go to the core of an upbringing about our perception of money, about worth. And really, what it comes down to is, I think, being in an environment where people are continuing to help lift you and shift that mindset. Um, and that's what I found to be my role. When I first started at Aquavato, um, as a wholesaler, we work predominantly with trade, or that's how it was 20 years ago. And back then, there was the Home Depots, the Ronas, but there wasn't a large e-commerce component that was showing homeowners this is retail. Um, but over the last 20 years or so, and especially with the pandemic, our reliance on technology just sped up. And I think a lot of designers started to source through websites, manufacturers' websites, and then they started checking pricing, maybe with e-commerce, and just wanting to make sure, because pricing is so visible now, that they weren't overcharging their clients. So again, that service gesture and wanting to be, pure in intent was still coming through a lot of our work, but it started to e-commerce, I think, act as a ceiling when it comes to marking up plumbing fixtures, rather than being the floor. So I started to dig into that a little further. What is MAP? I actually hadn't heard about MAP, and it's a policy created by manufacturers to ensure that, as e-tail and retailers come online and other wholesalers, that they're maintaining the value. So you can't advertise a price lower than MAP anywhere. Can you sell for lower than MAP in store? That's up to, that dealer. But it helps to hold the value. And then you have MSRP, which is manufacturer's suggested retail price. And 20 years ago, that was the standard. And, it was, $1,000 for a faucet, let's say. The trade would receive their discount, and then there was room to mark it back up to support their profitability. But MAP has closed the gap.
You said MAP has closed the gap. In what way has MAP closed the gap?
So in one way, it protects the value of the faucet so that we can't keep digging away at the value of that faucet, as like with price wars. But on the other hand, it sets a bar in the industry, in the market, for what this particular thing should cost.
Or
Um,
it sets the bar for what is the lowest amount the thing should cost, not the highest amount the thing should cost. Did I have that right?
MSRP is higher than MAP, and there is a gap in there. MAP is lower. It protects the value of the faucet. There is likely still room in there for trade margin, but because of e-commerce, MAP has become so visible that people, homeowners and trades alike, are perhaps using it as the ceiling.
Right.
It's not, this faucet isn't worth any more than that, and it might not be worth any less, but it's starting to homogenize MAP, particularly around, the plumbing industry.
This is something that's come up a couple of times at BOD Lives, and I've heard this exact sort of angst that, well, now with MAP, I can't charge more. But that's not true. MAP is the minimum amount you could sell this item for, not the max amount. And so if I bought the faucet from a retailer who's been in business for 40 years, really invested in the community, they're not going anywhere, they employ a bunch of wonderful people, I'm likely going to pay more for that plumbing product because I'm going to keep all of those people employed. And I'm going to feel okay about that because my customer service experience is going to be far superior to the experience of ordering it from a generic online source. So one of the things we have to be able to do as designers is educate our clients one more time. Like I'm just exhausted from educating my clients, but first we have to educate ourselves that, yeah, we're selling this faucet for X. It is available MAP for Y, but we're not buying it from that supplier. And we like the chain we're buying it through better because we're keeping local people employed, et cetera, et cetera. Does that sort of solve for what we're talking about?
It definitely adds the right context, and you can build on that even further. So if a retailer, again, is running this beautiful showroom, beautiful displays, they're employing people that are there to help you. We also have interior designers, and they're building these relationships with these vendors. They're vetting product, the quality, the support that comes with working with these vendors. And I think that is very reasonably added as well to the value of that faucet because, humans are infallible. We can make mistakes on projects. You can have a lot of eyes on a project and still have something not go quite to plan. And having that sort of revenue source in there helps. I've had designers say to me, well, I let my contractor buy because X, or I let my homeowner buy because X. And maybe at the root of that, they're trying to keep themselves out of risk or liability, by not handling the procurement, by not handling the money and the transactions. But if something does go wrong, and you clearly state this in step 6, who does the homeowner look to?
Right. Yeah, I think we should dwell on this for a minute because this is really still prevalent, maybe even more so with people who are graduating from design school today. And I'm telling you, if you think you're going to become an interior design professional and charge only an hourly fee and make money, you're not. It's not possible. You can't. You can't make any more money than a yoga instructor who gives private lessons because your time is limited. And in order to give better service to my clients, to be more effective on behalf of my clients, I actually need to make sure I can make some money. So this is a really important conversation. When the homeowner buys the product, that's wonderful, I suppose, if everything goes well. But more than likely, as we all know, you just said human beings are fallible. Things don't always go well. And when they don't go well, the client says, hey, we had this problem with the faucet, or not even the clients ordered the faucet, but it's delayed. And the contractor's mad at you because the faucet's not on site. You throw your hands up and say, it's not my fault, but you still have a project that's hit a brick wall and can't move forward. Or if something is wrong and there's something defective, the client is going to be mad at you because you're the one that recommended that particular faucet or that brand or whatever. You approved it, right? Because the clients will say, should I order this one? And you've said yes. So when something goes wrong, what you're doing to yourself is you're putting yourself responsible for the things that go wrong, but you make money on resolving them, but not giving yourself credit for the things that go right. It's such a lose-lose position. And it's such a frustration that Business of Design is 20 years old and we're still talking about it. Like, oh my God, really? So yeah, you have to have a multi-tiered business model or you will not make money in this business. And procurement is absolutely important to your bottom line.
And I mean, it's so simple, but it just dawned on me even this morning again, like procurement comes after step 5. So step 5, you get the yes, they give you the check. And what do you immediately do to continue control of the process? You procure.
Right.
That's the
Boom.
next thing.
Fast. Really fast.
Yeah.
And in order to make it all go seamlessly and work well, you have to have vendors and suppliers you trust. As much as you trust your contractor, your plumber, your, design associates, my right-hand senior designer, I have to trust the people I'm buying anything from, faucets, refrigerators, tile. I have to have a trust in that relationship. And I have to know that when something goes wrong, because it always does. Something always goes wrong on a project. I have to know that I'm going to be able to reach out to that supplier or vendor and say, I need help. What am I going to do? How are we going to fix this? And that they're in it with me, like that we're both invested in a positive outcome for my client. And you're not going to get that from ordering it from some generic website. That's just, you're on your own, really, and you can't make money. So
it's true. So I share that mindset having come through this process myself. And I actually have framed next to our coffee maker at work, you are the expert, you are the prize. Because even I need that constant reminder that, wanting to help and wanting to have that or having that mindset of wanting to serve, it needs to be backed up by protection. And if you think that the contractor or homeowner buying is releasing you or giving you some protection from not investing, well, now you have no power and you have no money. So it's just, it's not the way to be a sustainable business. Yeah. So the other aspect that I've noticed since rejoining MCO with Aquavato is that showrooms post-pandemic, I think, are on shifting sands. I think we're seeing designers rely more on manufacturer websites and they're even sourcing alone instead of, bringing us into the conceptual part of the process, step 2, step 3, trade day even. We can even be there on site if you'd like. But if you're spending time sourcing on the manufacturer's websites or, even because of the pandemic, maybe even repeating some of your favorites that are in your library because that became more heavily relied upon without access to showrooms, that's all great. It's lovely to have a favorite and an aesthetic, but this is a time for us to introduce you and delight, perhaps, with products that you haven't yet seen. That might be in line with your aesthetic or your project, because there is quite a bit out there in the market. So we
can I
can.
just interject on this point? It's so funny. I recently had 2 clients who met without me. They met and they have become friends. And I got invited to a little get together that they were both at, which was trippy because I knew them individually and then now they're buddies. And I just kept thinking, I am so happy I take care to customize my jobs because they've seen each other's houses now and they are very different. And I would have been really embarrassed if they said, oh, I have that faucet. Oh, I have that sink. Oh, I have the same sofa. I have the same chair. So it's funny. I was just kind of like, phew, right?
That's a
Uh,
really good point. You have a very interesting approach to design where a lot of designers are using their aesthetic as their brand. You've always leaned into my brand is your aesthetic. My brand is your style and your lifestyle and your lived experience. So yeah,
yeah.
it's more of a unique way to look at the design world. So yeah, being able to pull in products from Salone and Italy, even that's something that we can do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
could never keep my library current enough. Is a thing that I've learned over and over again. And we spent so much time reorganizing the library, reorganize the library, do the library again, reorganize the library. Somebody's coming in with new things for the library. I'm like, I'm tapping out. So we just stopped and I just started using the showrooms, you know? I mean, it's not that hard if you live in a big city. If you live in a small community and you don't have showrooms, it's definitely a little bit more challenging. But most designers I know have some big city nearby that they will go to and spend a day and get all their sourcing done. So that can work as well. Um,
It can, yeah.
how do you, one thing that I've noticed over the years, I've begun to rely more and more on my favorite suppliers and vendors to help me get to step 5. And you said that they would even be willing to come to trade day, which I never thought of with plumbing before. That's interesting. I've had my hardware guy there. If we're doing a house and they're going to replace the, mismatched hardware all over the house, different hinges and doorknobs and all that stuff. They show up on trade day. They do a door schedule. They do a hinge and hardware schedule. That saves hours and hours and hours of time and just helps me, provide that service that makes me the expert for my clients. So I never thought of that. Do designers use the vendors enough? I guess is what I'm saying. Do they use your expertise enough?
No, even less than before the pandemic, truly.
Really?
So we are, as a showroom, maybe passive static displays aren't really what designers need anymore. Homeowners, perhaps, but designers do want, to stay on top of what's new and fresh, what's unique for the client. We have sent uh, brand new boxed faucets to a designer for a presentation up in Barrie
Yeah.
because it was a faucet that they wanted to use on the project. And we said, well, instead of having a little sample, have the whole faucet. We can bring the showroom to you and we can source with you virtually if coming into the showroom is not deemed the best use of time. I know travel and parking downtown Toronto, it's not the most aspirational thing to do. But yes, we're looking for ways to save you time and even disbursements. That's sort of entered the chat recently as well. As a vendor, you can bill for our time to source with you because this is a value that we are bringing to a project. This is an expertise that we're providing. So if marking up plumbing fixtures or your furniture, your lighting, and so forth um, isn't isn't quite what you're wanting to do in terms of profitability, disbursements, I think is a good option as well.
We've done this before. We worked with a company for a while, lighting company that did a lot of our sourcing for us. And they did a presentation to me. Here are the
Oh
light
yeah.
fixtures we think would be perfect for this project. And we narrowed it down and we billed some number of hours, 6 hours, whatever we would have normally spent sourcing lights. We billed to the client and I felt fine about that. And that doesn't, it's so interesting. You said, well, if you're not comfortable with procurement, you could do the disbursements, but I would say, why can't you do both? There's like too often we speak in a way that we really can't make too much money. Like it isn't fair to make too much money. I don't hear any of my male friends having these conversations. Like my husband's guy group, they're never saying, well, I don't want to make too much on this project. Like that, you're actually in business to make money. It's okay. It took me years to feel, I think it's hilarious that you referred to me as a badass with money because that is not where I started, but I do kind of feel that way now. And yeah, I've got more confidence because I've been doing it a while, but it's okay when a client pushes back on what something costs to say, look, that's my business model. That's how I pay my staff. That's how I pay my association fees. That's how I put gas in my car. That's how I feed my family. And I've never had a client fight back when I say that. They like, "Oh, I get it. Okay, I get it." So it's okay to make money. Get comfortable with making money.
Yes, yeah, I literally had to read books because it was something that was so ingrained and buried. When I left design school, when I graduated, I thought somehow that that would give me the confidence that would compensate, for how I grew up thinking about money, and it didn't. So that was actually a shock. That was kind of devastating. What school did afford me were a lot of other great things, but just not what I was expecting. Certainly not how to run a business, um, and feeling like um, margin isn't a bonus; it's a requirement. It's an absolute
Yeah.
requirement. Yeah, because we're not selling
Um,
faucets, like, we're helping you sell a well-run, beautiful, low-stress project, and I think that's worth its weight. Yeah,
I would
because
agree with for sure. And I think anytime you let go of the money trail in your business, it's a huge mistake. Don't do it. You do have to negotiate. I have to negotiate with contractors sometimes. If it's a huge project, they say, look, I got to keep my Tyler employed. Great, you use your Tyler. But I'm not doing a project without my painter. And the contractor say, great, I don't care. My painters, I don't care. It's great. You negotiate, but the more things you keep inside, in house so that you're the expert that the client relies on, the better.
no, it's so true, and, one of the ways as a supplier, again, with the showroom being on shifting sands and, looking to insert ourselves to help give back to the community. Basically, the designer is the nucleus of the project, is how I look at it. So supporting designers is essential to better quality work, more seamless communication, and so forth. Um, but we started studio sessions as well. And that's another way that we're hoping to communicate to interior designers with local, um, like talent, local designers that have, also come through these shifts in mindset, built their business, looked at their A team, looked at their social media, um, filling the pipeline. We've all sort of reinvented the wheel for ourselves in a way. Um, Plumbers maybe get to go golfing with their sales reps. We thought, what would help empower designers? What would help them? And we're looking forward to bringing that to the table as well this fall.
Tell us where we can get
Yeah.
a schedule of studio sessions for those who live in Toronto. Where are those sessions? When are those sessions happening? How can we get that schedule?
Yeah, this really came off the cuff. House of Roll Canada, they have a third of our showroom space called House of Roll Studio, and it's by MCO Corporation. So we've invested in creating uh, a showroom experience that is more in keeping with the design eye, shall we say. Um, and we wanted to be able to bring designers together to talk about the product, but also engage with one another and network as we're so want to do. Um, where to find it is our website address. It's aquavato.com/designers. And there will be an Eventbrite way to purchase a ticket there. So it's our inaugural studio sessions. I'm hoping to do them biannually, and we'll be talking about just topics like this, or again, like social media. How do you find your ideal client? How do you build your brand equity? With 4 panelists that are going to bring everything in their arsenal to the table to help other designers grow and
Love it.
flourish.
And
Mhm.
BOD member, you're going to get a promotion code, but the website again is aquavato.com. Everything's in the show notes. So go there. Never stop learning, never stop growing. I think we're on the cusp of massive transformation in the industry because of AI. But one thing that's not going to change, there's going to be a client who wants someone to stick handle their project, and that's got to be you, and you've got to be the expert, and you got to make money, right, Jen?
Yes, absolutely. I've seen it as a designer. I'm seeing it now, working in the wholesale industry and showrooms. And, we have vendor reps as well. Like everyone is here. So it's just inserting us back into the process, sourcing, quoting with you, disbursements, margin, um, education. It's all there. So any way that we can jump on board and help to elevate your business, your process, we're here.
Thank you so, so much. I hope to see you at studio sessions. That sounds great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll send an invite.
All right. Stay well.
Thank you, too, Kimberly.
Bye.